Right. Hello, and welcome to our first podcast for. Take it away, Andrea.
Get it off your chest, the funny side of breast cancer.
Inside of breast
Um,
cancer.
I'm Andrea Moulding. I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I'm here with Estelle, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Estelle Ma. I'm also a breast cancer survivor. And Andrea and I have only known each other, about 2 minutes, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. We just met each other on the street. Do you fancy doing a podcast?
No, we're both authors, darling, and
Yeah.
when we first, Estelle is my editor, and we started chatting, and it felt like we'd known each other for a million years, didn't it? So it just snowballed from there, really. And we
Yeah,
just
you were
started
driving
telling
to
each
where?
other.
Portsmouth or somewhere. Somebody asked
That's
you
right. I
to
was driving down to
didn't
Portsmouth. Yeah, and we just started talking one day about all the kind of hilarious things that happen to you when you've been diagnosed with breast cancer and all the funny things that happen. And we just decided that the world needed to hear it because I know that
Yeah.
everybody, has got stories too.
But don't you think it's funny that, you think you're the only one who's been through like a bit of a humorous experience. And then when you start talking to people, well, actually, you were probably one of the first ones that I ever spoke to that said these funny things. Because I've got a few people who've had breast cancer or had it. And and they're not, they just don't seem to have any humorous stories. It's always like, oh, and I thought I was going to die. Yeah, well, we all thought we were going to die, love, but there's always like those nuggets in there where you think, oh, this would only happen to me. And you were the same, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of the people that you meet when you're having treatment, you go through that kind of absolute horror when you have diagnosis. And then you meet people and, they start telling you about how they've, talked to builders about having bald heads and burning their head on the oven and, all the ridiculous things that happen and the staff, some of the characters that you meet. So, yeah, I mean, I think also there's a lot to be said for humor with diagnosis. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people about, especially in America, where they use humor as treatment because it's actually really, really good for your mental health and actually reduces your heart beat.
Reduces your heart.
Yeah,
it gets smaller.
But it's really, really good for you. So we're hoping that this podcast becomes a bit of a community, something for people to have a laugh about, really.
So do you know how are they using this humor in America? Is it like you're making
Well,
it
they do
sound like
things
it's
like
a prescription thing?
laughter yoga and
Oh
things like
yeah.
that.
Oh, what's
Yeah.
laughter yoga? Is that the way you're supposed to just laugh and
Yeah.
everybody just joins in and
Yeah, and you don't have to laugh about anything specific. I think it's just they encourage people to laugh and have whole sessions where everyone sits around just cracking up. I'd actually really like to do a
nothing
session.
though? Is it? Are
I
they?
don't know. I don't know. I've actually linked in with a couple of people, and some woman's written a book about it. So I want to get her on as a guest. She can tell us all
Oh,
about it.
okay. I wouldn't mind speaking to her because when you see these, you see them and they're in these circles and they're like, right, we're all going to start laughing now. I don't know. I find it a bit slightly
Yeah.
creepy. I just think,
because you're
could no
British,
one
darling.
at least tell a knock joke just to
Yeah.
warm the crowd up a bit?
I don't know. I think you just kind of laugh hysterically at nothing. So, we'll fit right in.
Well, today we decided that we were going to talk about the very beginning, which is all about diagnosis. And it's probably, bar surgery day, it's probably the next darkest day, really. But even I found humour in diagnosis day. How did you find it, Andrew?
Well, I you find a lump and then you go and they tell you it's suspicious and then you have that agonizing wait for kind of 10 days, but you kind of know in your head exactly what it is because they kind of use that language, don't they? And me and my partner, we kind of stumbled out of the breast cancer centre, went into town, just went on this absolutely mad shopping spree, just bought all this insane stuff like an aubergine, a pair of shoes, and then we went to a Chinese eat all you can buffet and sat there for 4 hours just stuffing our faces.
Isn't
And
it strange the way you do that? We did that. We did exactly the same thing when I got diagnosed. We went for a breakfast. In fact, my husband was diagnosed with cancer twice before me, and we did exactly the same with that. And by the time we got to my diagnosis, which was cancer number 3, we were well versed in it. We sat in the car, and he literally just looked at me and went, "Are you hungry?" I was like, "I'm starving. I'm absolutely starving." But mine was a fry up. I didn't do Chinese. Should have done that. If it's done that, I'd have still been there till surgery day. But yeah, mine was eggs and bacon and 40,000 pounds of toast. You couldn't get the toast to go and quick.
It's like your body is like so shocked that it just needs kind of sustenance to keep you going, you know. And then did you have your crash? Because I came back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, having kind of gouged myself on kind of, you know, everything on the eat all you can buffet.
You gouged it? I mean, you gorged?
Gorged it.
Gouged myself.
Gorged myself. And then I literally crashed out for about 4.5 hours in the middle of the afternoon. Just literally went to bed and crashed out.
One of the things that I always remember about diagnosis day was, to me, always reminds me of Homes Under the Hammer, because our hospital always had like the telly on. It was always early in the morning. And I even remember the episode where all the boundary wall outside this house was all, you know, falling down, and they put on the Style Council, you know, walls come tumbling down. And as soon as I heard the song, you know, they called me in, and every time I hear this song now, I just hear them shouting my name. I just go straight back to this moment. I had a woman, and her voice sounded like, have you ever seen, what's that film, Monsters Inc.?
Yes.
Where you've got Roz behind the thing, and she goes, "You forgot to file your paperwork." Well, I had her. She was the one. Like, but I don't know what it's called, the thing all over my boob, trying to find like the lump. And I was going, "So is it just a cyst?" And she's like, "No, it's not a cyst." I was like, "Oh my God, it's Roz from Monsters Inc." I'm lying there with my arms akimbo and every instrument sticking out of this boob. And she's like, "Oh, no, it's not. Just leave it with me and I'll have a look. Your boobs are very dense." She kept going on about my boobs being dense. And I thought, oh my God, when you take it off me, you can give it to Pirelli if they're that dense. I make it out like rubber-like.
Oh, I know. I think we'll have to do a whole podcast on staff, because when I went in to see the surgeon, because you have that horrible 10-day wait, don't you, when they send the you know, the sample off to the, you know, geeks in the laboratory, and then you go back in, and I walked in, and my surgeon said, "Yes, thank you for coming. Please sit down." And I said, "Right, okay, what is it then?" "Right, we've confirmed it's breast cancer, and we will have to remove the breast." And that was it.
That was it. Oh wow! You didn't put any hundreds and thousands on that, did you?
No.
How did you find a mammogram, by the way? Because I was really scared, thinking, "Oh my God, this is going to kill." I'm not being funny. I used to go out with a builder, and I think he mauled me a bit more than the mammogram machine. So I was taking it all in my stride.
So I didn't think anything of it. I kind of gaily skipped over there to the machine, thinking, "Oh, you know, half a day off work. I'm not going to worry about it." And then the next, you know, then all hell breaks loose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Well, by my second appointment, when they confirmed it was, I got told then that the consultant that I was seeing, she wasn't going to continue with me. She was going on holiday, or she was doing something, but she was basically going to be off. She wouldn't be able to do my surgery. And she said, "Oh, this gentleman's going to do it." And I thought, I've got a man. I don't want a man. I want a girl who knows like what they're supposed to look like. I mean, I know what men know what they look like, but you know, it's just something about, I like having a man, isn't it? But honest to God, when my surgeon came in, and I wrote about it in my book, I said he didn't even sit down. He kind of just settled on the chair, because he was just so gentle and lovely. He was absolutely gorgeous. And I just kept looking at his hands. His hands
Mm,
were like childlike with these beautiful long fingers. And I thought,
mm.
oh, yes, yes, they'll do. Because for some reason, I thought he was going to come in like a 40-stone truck driver with hands like a Sheffield steel worker.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And it ends up with a boob, like, I don't know, like a fox's chewed up ear or something.
But a lot of people have mammary parties to say goodbye. And I saw one that was really cool. It had a big banner and it's on Boob Voyage. And they invited all their mates round, had loads of wine and kind of cupcakes shaped like boobs and had a big party. And I always thought, do you know what? I'd really like to have done that. But I only had like 2 days before I had surgery. Do you know what I mean?
I probably could have done one because I think from me being diagnosed, me actually losing it was about, I don't know, maybe about 6 weeks, something like that.
God,
Yeah,
weeks.
so I could have had a few parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have grew it back. I think my biggest fear probably wasn't losing the breast. It was the thought of all the treatments, you know, when they were saying about you could have might have
Therapy.
radiotherapy and chemotherapy. And I remember sitting there with my surgeon and he said, you know, you're going to have radiotherapy. And I was like, so does that mean I'm going to look like the Hulk by Christmas? And he didn't blink at all. And then he went, and there might be some chemotherapy. But I was like, so does that mean I'm going to look like Phil Mitchell by Christmas? And he still didn't react. This is the thing. And then he went, and you're definitely going on hormone therapy. And I was like, so does that mean I'm going to look like Magnum by Christmas? With a big tash like that. And it was then that he got a bit of a lip twitch out of him. And I was like, kind of seeing that I'm cracking a joke here, lads.
Yeah. I think they're just used to kind of gibbering wrecks like me. Do you know what I mean? They're not used to people making jokes. I mean, I was a kind of basket case when I was in. That's terrible. You know.
So,
But
can I go back to the aubergine and shoes? Were you planning on buying an aubergine and shoes, or was it just
no,
some random stuff you bought?
just random. You know, like it was like
Who
when
were
we
the
found out
shoes
we were
for,
having.
by the way? With the
Say
shoes
again?
for you? Who were the shoes for?
I don't know. We just went to the market and I was like, oh, these are nice shoes. Bought some shoes, bought an aubergine, bought some other crap, can't remember what, lost it on the way home, can't even remember where it was, stuffed my face. Then I met a friend of mine called Claire, who I became friends with, who I found out had breast cancer. I was talking to her, and she said when she got diagnosed, she went to Tesco's and bought dog food, and she hasn't even got a dog. It's like it's like when I found out I was having identical twins. You know, when you're kind of surprised you're even pregnant, and then I was told I was having identical twins. And me and Patrick drove back from the hospital, and we ended up in Derby. We're like, oh, we're in Derby. We don't live in Derby. We just literally were going, bloody hell, twins. And it was like that. It was that kind of just madness. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny, isn't it?
You know, combined with a kind of 3-course, 5-course Chinese all-you-can-eat buffet. You know,
yeah, nothing to do with cancer at all. But my sister was pregnant with twins, and when she went for the scan, she could hear the whatever they're called, the sonographer, is it? I don't know. But anyway, the person who does your scan, and she could hear them going, yes, there's definitely 2 heads there, definitely 2 heads. So she went hysterical on the bed going, oh my God, my baby's got 2 heads. I'm like, oh no, you're having twins. I don't know what was better or what was worse.
Well, I remember Patrick, I was going, oh, identical twins. I didn't stop talking. I looked at Patrick, and you know those cartoon characters when your jaw drops and it's on the floor. He was like that. He was completely catatonic and couldn't speak. And it was really like that when I got my cancer diagnosis. I was like, oh my God, blah 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 blah. Didn't stop talking, and he was just like cartoon jaw on the floor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, it
I
is a
can't
terrible
really
job.
remember what Pete did. I think, like I said, I think by diagnosed 3, we were just like, okay, yeah. So can we go now? When do you want us back? Because
Yeah.
we're starving. Absolutely starving.
Yeah.
Very
No.
bizarre. But yeah, diagnosis day doesn't always have to be as bad as people
No.
think. There is
The thing
huge.
is, you kind of know when you first go, when before it's confirmed, you kind of know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if they use those words like suspicious or, you know, we're not happy with the, whatever, we're just going to need to check it out. You're not an idiot. You know what they're saying. They never let you tie them down, do they? You say, "Oh, so is it cancer?" They'll say, "Ooh, we can't confirm that at this particular time," but
Yeah,
you
but they
never
know it's
hear.
not a cyst because I've been in there
Yeah.
before with a cyst and they literally just went, it's a cyst. Now go
Mm.
home or go back to work and stop being a crybaby. So by the
Yeah.
time I went with this one, I was convinced it was a cyst. I was like, yeah, it's a cyst, it's a cyst.
Mm.
But because they kept going, go back to the waiting room, go back to the waiting room, and it seemed like the whole episode of Homes Under the Hammer, which was
Yeah.
unprecedented, I thought, oh, there could be something wrong here.
You watched the whole episode, so you knew something was up. Yeah. The whole place is full of kind of anxious women. It's really not a great environment, really, is it?
Oh, it's not. Especially when you got the young ones and these women are running around with like perky boobs, aren't they?
Yeah,
All these young girls
exactly.
going, would you like to go to room number 3? And they're like, the nipples are like on end, pointing the right way. And you're just looking at them going, why are you here? You should have saggy, not squirrel, what are they called? Spaniel like ears for boobs. So we all feel a little bit better. But you're like,
Yeah.
guide me through with your perky boobs and you're getting on my nerves now. You have
And
to
I
do
had,
what I call the YMCA dance, where they made you like put your arms up and hands on the hips and
yeah,
honestly do the shuffle. It was
yeah.
all like that, wasn't it? And then he
Oh,
kept flicking me nipple for some reason and
mm.
twiddling it. And for some reason, I thought Radio 4 might come through at some point because he was twiddling with it that much. And then I
Oh,
kept looking at it as if to say, like, do what you're supposed to do, because he kept standing back looking at it. And I was
mm.
like, I'm not sure what you want it to do. And I would
Yeah.
gladly will it to do it. But he just kept coming over and twiddling
Oh,
again. And I thought, you're never going to find Radio 4 if you carry on like
yeah,
that.
exactly. But I think you get so used to kind of whipping your top off in front of strangers, don't you?
Yeah,
It's just,
definitely.
it's just. Do you mind if we bring in like the students who look about 12? They're all
I
men.
know,
And,
yeah.
you're standing there and you're all together, and they're like, "Oh, this particular student, this, and they talk to you like that. And when they first do it, you're really stressed. And by the end of it, you don't care, do you? I could be a pole dancer now and I wouldn't care. Not that I get
For the listeners out there, we're not 20, by the way.
no. And I've only got one boob as well, so it'd be a freak show. I'm still waiting for my breast.
Look, there's all kinds of men out there that like all kinds of women. You know what I mean? You just never know.
I know. It's a niche market that I'm. But
one day he might like you from the left, and another day he like you from the right. At least he has a choice. There's all them men out there, millions of women with 2 boobs who have no choice. So your husband's very lucky.
Exactly. I was telling that.
So it's been great talking to you about diagnosis. We no doubt next week we'll be talking about something else. We'll decide at the time.
Yeah. People do have some really hilarious stories that, it is really good to share, because when you do get diagnosed with breast cancer, you think the end of the world's come, but it is the kind of laughter and camaraderie that gets you through it. And we're hoping that this podcast will kind of fill that gap for people, really, aren't we?
I like the way you say we're going to get some guests, like we haven't got any. We do have like a long line of guests that do want to actually come on the show. We're not sat here like 2 saps on our own. Well, we are this week.
We
But
are
we
this
just
week.
felt like we should introduce ourselves this week.
Yeah.
And then next week
They're fighting each other to be the first guests,
So
actually.
next week we're getting the guests on, because we've started to fill up our mailbag. So if you do want to have a little, if you do want to come on the show, send us your email, and it's stories@tittytowers.com, or have a look at our website, or go on Facebook on Get It Off Your Chest, The Funny Side of Breast Cancer.
Yeah.
Also on, what are we on? Instagram.
Where we're on
Everywhere,
everything.
but just like absolutely everywhere.
We're absolutely everywhere. But I think one of the most important things to say is that, you know, not everybody is like me and Estelle, you know, happy to kind of bare our chest to everyone. If you want to be anonymous, that's absolutely fine. And you can make up any story, you know, it can be Marie Antoinette if you want to be, and we will tell your story for you. But the most important thing is we get those stories out there, because we need to hear them, and so does everyone else.
And they've got to be funny. Don't be giving us your sad stories. We've all got them. This show is not about you know, getting people to relate, should we say. This is about getting people to laugh, and from that they will relate. So so don't send us your sad stories, because we can watch EastEnders if you want to be sad.
Bring them in, and
bring them in. Fabulous. So thanks everybody. Thanks for listening.
Lovely to hear from you all, and we look forward to it. And see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.